The planet's surface shook with tremors, and smoke rose in thick black clouds from the scorched battlefield. Captain Nathan Cole leaned against the shattered wall of a half-destroyed building, his armor scratched and scorched from the endless fighting. His chest rose and fell with heavy breaths, his body aching from the long hours of combat. For weeks, humans had been fighting the alien race called the Thrillians. They were fast, smart, and cruel. But Nathan had never seen anything like this. He glanced across the field, where twisted metal and broken machines lay scattered like toys. Explosions lit the dark sky, and the cries of wounded soldiers echoed. It had been a long campaign, and many humans had fallen. Nathan wiped the sweat from his brow and felt the weight of exhaustion pressing down on him. His mind wandered to the people he had left behind on Earth. He remembered the simple comforts he missed: warm food, clean water, and the quiet nights he had once taken for granted. But now, in the middle of this alien war, those memories seemed like distant dreams. Nathan forced himself to focus. He had seen too many soldiers fall today, and he could not afford to rest not yet. But even a soldier as disciplined as him had limits. He stumbled into the building, leaning on the cracked walls to support himself. The interior was dark and cold, the floor littered with debris. Broken furniture and scattered papers lay in piles. Nathan crouched near a corner, rubbing his temples. He had fought all day, and his body screamed for rest. Just as he was about to close his eyes, he heard a soft sound, a faint whimper. Nathan froze, listening. The battlefield was full of noise, but this sound was different. It was quiet, small, and full of fear. He rose carefully, moving toward the noise. Behind a pile of rubble, he found her, a small alien girl. She was no more than 10 by human years, with soft blue skin and large, bright eyes that looked almost translucent in the dim light. Her body was bruised and covered in dirt, and her breathing was shallow. Nathan's heart clenched. He had seen many aliens in battle, but rarely a child. She was clearly scared, but she didn't cry out. He knelt beside her and gently checked her injuries. Cuts on her arms and legs were deep, and one of her legs seemed twisted in an unnatural angle. Nathan knew he had to help her. He lifted her carefully into his arms, ignoring the sharp pain in his back and shoulders. "It's okay," he whispered softly, more to calm himself than her. "I've got you. You're safe now." The girl's large eyes blinked slowly, and she made a small, uncertain sound. Nathan did not understand her language, but her tone was soft, almost trusting. Moving through the rubble, Nathan found a small, sheltered corner of the building. He laid her down gently and tore strips from his shirt to wrap her wounds as best he could. The alien girl flinched slightly but did not resist. Nathan worked carefully, using the basic first aid knowledge he had learned in training. As he tied the makeshift bandages, he noticed something strange. She seemed to study him with a curious intelligence. Even in her weakened state, there was awareness in her eyes, a sharpness he did not expect from someone so young. Hours passed as Nathan watched over her. Outside, the battle raged on. The sound of distant explosions, alien screams, and human cries filled the air. He kept low, alert to every sound, but he also tried to let himself rest. His body was screaming, his muscles stiff and trembling. For the first time in days, he let himself close his eyes for just a few moments. When he opened them again, the girl had shifted slightly. She looked directly at him, her expression unreadable. Nathan felt a strange sense of connection, as if she understood him in a way no one else could. "You're safe," he said again, though he knew she might not understand his words. "I won't let anything happen to you," Nathan's mind wandered. He thought of his comrades, many of whom had not survived this war. He thought of the families waiting for their loved ones back on Earth, and he thought of the Thrillians, a race so alien that even understanding their motives was nearly impossible. Yet, despite all this, he felt a flicker of hope. Saving this girl might be meaningless in the grand scope of war, but in that small act there was meaning. Night fell over the battlefield, and the ruined building grew colder. Nathan built a small fire using some debris he found. The warmth did little to ease his aches, but it gave him a sense of security. He sat beside the girl, keeping a hand near her to monitor her breathing. He could not sleep fully, but he could rest, letting his body recover just enough for the next day as he drifted into light sleep. His mind wandered to a world beyond this war. He imagined fields of green grass, skies of bright blue, and peaceful creatures walking without fear. In this vision, humans and aliens lived together, learning from each other instead of fighting. Nathan had dreamed of such a future before, but now it seemed almost impossible. Yet, the small alien girl in front of him reminded him that hope could exist even in the darkest times. Suddenly, he heard a faint sound again, like soft breathing. Nathan opened his eyes fully and looked at her. She was stirring, her large eyes flickering open and studying him intently. For a moment, he thought she might speak, but she only moved slightly, as if sensing the safety he offered. Nathan's heart thumped. He was not used to being responsible for someone so fragile. Yet he felt a strange sense of purpose. Hours passed, intense, quiet. Nathan listened to the sounds outside, the distant blasts of energy weapons, the chatter of radios, the cries of injured soldiers. But in his little corner, there was a fragile peace. He tended to the girl whenever she shifted, making sure she had water and a small piece of food he had scavenged. Though she could barely eat, the act of feeding her made him feel human again. It reminded him that, even in war, small kindnesses mattered. By morning, the battlefield seemed quieter. Smoke still drifted in the sky, but the explosions were farther away. Nathan rose cautiously, checking the girl's condition. She had slept most of the night, and though her wounds were still serious, she seemed a little stronger. Nathan knew he could not stay in the building forever. Supplies were low, and enemy patrols could appear at any moment. He needed to find a safer place. Lifting her carefully, he moved toward the underground tunnels he had discovered during a previous mission. These tunnels were narrow, dark, and full of unknown dangers, but they offered protection from the open battlefield. Nathan had used them before to rescue injured soldiers and bring them to safety. Now he carried the alien girl, feeling the weight of responsibility heavier than ever. As they moved through the tunnels, Nathan thought about what he knew of her species. Thrillians were intelligent, quick, and highly adaptive. Most of them had little reason to trust humans. Yet this girl had allowed him to help her without fear. It was a rare gift, one Nathan did not take lightly. He promised himself that he would do everything in his power to keep her safe, no matter what it cost him. Deep in the tunnels, the girl shifted in his arms. Nathan stopped and knelt, setting her down gently. She looked around, her eyes wide and curious. Nathan reached out a hand, letting her touch it. She hesitated, then placed her small hand on his. There was a moment of silent understanding between them. Nathan did not know what her future held. Nor did he know how this small act of kindness might change everything. Finally, Nathan allowed himself to rest fully. His head fell back against the tunnel wall, and exhaustion overcame him. The girl lay near him, her breathing steady but shallow. Nathan closed his eyes, letting the darkness of sleep wash over him. For the first time in weeks, he felt safe, if only for a moment. Outside, the battlefield continued, but in this small corner of the world, there was quiet. Nathan had survived another day. He had rescued someone, even if only one small life. And in that act, he found hope not just for himself, but for the possibility that humans could endure, could protect, and could inspire even the most unlikely allies, as sleep claimed him. Nathan did not know what awaited when he woke, but one thing was certain: he would face it just as he had faced every challenge before. Because no matter the odds, no matter the dangers, he was human. And humans had a strength that could not be measured in weapons, armor, or numbers. They had courage, and sometimes courage was enough to change everything. Nathan awoke to a faint rustling sound. The tunnel was dimly lit by a few flickering lights embedded in the walls, casting shadows that danced like silent ghosts. He stretched his muscles stiff from the long hours of carrying the small alien girl. His eyes immediately went to her. She was stirring, her large eyes slowly opening, reflecting the dim light. Nathan froze for a moment. The way she looked at him was different from before. It was no longer just fear. There was curiosity, something deeper, something that made his chest tighten in surprise. She blinked slowly, her gaze following Nathan's movements. He could not understand her language yet, but the intelligence in her eyes was undeniable. Her small hand moved slightly toward him, hesitant but deliberate. Nathan extended his fingers, letting her touch them. The moment her hand met his, he felt a strange warmth, almost as if some unspoken connection had formed. Nathan cleared his throat. "You're safe," he said softly, repeating the words he had spoken before. She tilted her head, listening. Though he could not understand her, he sensed that she recognized his voice. Slowly, she gave a small nod. Nathan smiled faintly. It was the first acknowledgement of trust he had received from her. For the next few hours, Nathan focused on helping her regain strength. He had some ration packs left from his supplies. He tore one open, offering it to her. At first she looked at it suspiciously, but hunger eventually won over hesitation. She ate slowly, her eyes never leaving Nathan. He watched her closely, noticing how alert she remained despite her injuries. She was not just any alien child. There was a rare intelligence in her, a presence that made Nathan feel as though she understood far more than she should. Suddenly, the ground above them trembled. Nathan stiffened, listening. There was a sound of heavy footsteps and muffled voices. The Thrillian patrol had discovered the tunnels. He quickly glanced at the girl, who now looked tense, as if she knew something dangerous was coming. Nathan knew he had little time. He scooped her into his arms again, moving swiftly through the narrow tunnels. The patrol was closer now. Nathan's mind raced. He remembered the layout of these tunnels from previous missions. Twists, turns, dead ends, they could be advantages if used wisely. He whispered to the girl, "Stay close. We'll be safe." No, she could not reply. She pressed herself against him. Following his every movement instinctively, Nathan led them through a series of twists and turns. The patrol's voices echoed behind them, growing louder. He could hear the soft thuds of Thrillian boots on the metal floor above. They were fast, but Nathan was faster in his knowledge of these tunnels. They emerged into a small chamber, almost hidden from the main tunnel. Nathan set the girl down and peeked through a crack in the wall. The patrol passed by, unaware of the small chamber. Nathan exhaled quietly, relief washing over him. He looked at the girl. Her eyes met his, and for the first time, she seemed to smile faintly. It was a small gesture, but it carried a lot of meaning. Nathan felt a surge of hope. Despite everything, they had survived another moment. They stayed in the chamber for a few hours. Nathan taught her small gestures, how to stay quiet, how to move without making sound. She picked up the lessons quickly, showing an understanding that surprised him. He realized that she was not just intelligent, but highly adaptable. Perhaps this was why the Thrillians had kept her alive. They had recognized her potential as they rested. Nathan thought about the war. Humans were resilient, yes, but they often relied on technology and strategy. This girl, however, had something different. She had instinct, intelligence, and awareness far beyond her age. Nathan began to wonder if she could be the key to ending the conflict. Perhaps, with her help, humans could find a way to communicate with the Thrillians and stop the endless cycle of battle. Night fell over the tunnels, and Nathan allowed himself a moment of quiet reflection. He leaned against the wall, exhausted, but more at peace than he had been in days. The girl lay near him, her small form curling up as if seeking comfort. Nathan watched her, thinking about the strange bond that had formed between them. He had saved her life, yes, but in many ways, she had saved him too, by giving him a reason to keep going, a reason to hope. Suddenly, she moved closer, her small hand brushing against his arm. Nathan looked down at her, startled. Her eyes were wide and shining. Then, she did something he had never expected. She spoke clearly and distinctly in perfect English. "Thank you." Nathan's eyes widened. You can speak English?" he asked, disbelief in his voice. She nodded slowly, her gaze steady. "I have learned many things," she said softly. "I was waiting for someone like you." Nathan could not believe it. How could this young alien girl know English? He had encountered intelligent aliens before, but none had shown this level of understanding. His mind raced with questions. but he also felt a strange calm. She was not a threat. She was an ally. And perhaps more than that, a friend. She continued, her voice steady and calm. You are brave. You have helped me when others would not. I have seen your courage. You are the one I have been waiting for. Nathan's heart pounded. He had faced countless dangers, but nothing prepared him for this moment. He realized that this small alien girl, whom he had rescued on the battlefield, was extraordinary. She had a presence that commanded respect and awe. Despite her size and age, before he could respond, a distant sound echoed through the tunnels, the unmistakable hum of Thrillian energy weapons. Nathan stiffened. We need to move, he said, urgency in his voice. The girl nodded, understanding without needing further explanation. Nathan lifted her once again, moving carefully through the tunnels. Using the knowledge he had gained during previous missions, they emerged into a wider passage, one that led toward an underground safe zone Nathan had discovered earlier. He moved quickly, keeping low and alert. The girl remained silent, her hands gripping his armor. Nathan could sense her alertness, her awareness of every sound, every vibration. She was not afraid, just cautious, and that calm focus helped him stay steady. Finally, they reached the entrance to the safe zona, small hidden chamber, deep underground. Nathan set the girl down, and she looked around, her large eyes taking in the space. It was small, but secure. Supplies had been left here by human soldiers during earlier missions. Nathan checked the ration packs and water, making sure they had enough. As they settled in, the girl spoke again. I am called Lyra, she said. I was sent to observe, to learn, but I was captured. Nathan nodded slowly. I'm Nathan, he said, and I'm glad I found you. He paused, thinking about what she had just said. Observation, learning, captivity. It was clear that Lyra was more than just a child. She had a mission, a purpose, and now that purpose was linked with him. Over the next few days, Nathan helped Lyra recover. Her wounds healed quickly, her strength returning in ways that surprised him. She adapted to human food and water without difficulty, and her curiosity grew. She asked questions, gestured, and even attempted simple human tasks. Nathan watched her with awe. She was learning, yes, but she was also teaching him about patience, about trust, about hope. One afternoon, as Nathan rested near the chamber entrance, Lyra approached him. She placed her small hand on his shoulder, a gesture of reassurance. Nathan looked at her, sensing the depth of her understanding. She did not need words to communicate the trust between them. It was a connection that transcended species, one that showed the potential of humans to inspire loyalty and courage, even in the most alien of beings. Nathan smiled faintly. You're remarkable, Lyra, he said softly. More than I could have imagined. She returned the smile, small but bright, and for a moment, the horrors of the battlefield seemed distant. As night fell, Nathan allowed himself to close his eyes, leaning back against the wall. Lyra lay near him, her breathing steady and calm. He thought about what she had said, the words in English, the trust in her eyes. He realized that their bond was more than survival. It was a partnership, a shared purpose that could change everything. Suddenly, a thought struck him. The Thrillians had been relentless, but what if Lyra's knowledge, her intelligence, could turn the tide? Perhaps humans did not need to fight alone. Perhaps courage, combined with trust and understanding, was stronger than any weapon. Nathan opened his eyes, looking at her. Lyra was awake again, watching him with that same intelligent gaze. We can make a difference, Nathan said quietly. Together. She nodded, her small hand brushing against his once more, a silent promise of loyalty and courage. Outside the safe zone, the battle continued, but Nathan no longer felt helpless. With Lyra by his side, he felt hope. He felt strength. He felt the unmistakable power of humans, the ability to endure, to protect, and to inspire even the most unlikely allies as he drifted into sleep that night. Nathan knew that when the time came, he would face the battlefield again. But now, he would not face it alone. He had Lyra, and together, they could change the future of their world. The air inside the underground chamber was still, But Nathan's mind was not. He lay against the wall with his eyes half closed, but sleep would not come easily. His thoughts raced with questions. What did Lyra truly know? Why had she been waiting for someone like him? And what would happen once they left this safe place? Lyra sat nearby, quietly observing him. Her blue skin shimmered faintly in the dim light, and her large, bright eyes followed his every movement. She seemed calm, yet Nathan could sense she was preparing for something. Perhaps she knew more about the future than he did. Nathan took a deep breath and finally spoke. Lyra, he said softly, you said you were sent to observe. Who sent you? She tilted her head slightly as if considering how to answer. My people, she replied. Not the ones who fight. Others. Hidden ones. We do not like war. We watch. We learn. Nathan frowned. So, there are Thrillians who want peace? Lyra nodded. Yes, many. But the loud ones, the strong fighters, they lead. Others stay quiet. Her words struck Nathan deeply. Humans and Thrillians were not so different after all. Even among humans, there were fighters and there were peacekeepers. Some shouted for war, while others whispered for harmony. It was easy to see an entire race as one thing, an enemy, or a ally, but Lyra reminded him that life was not so simple. Nathan leaned forward, his voice calm. Lyra, if your people want peace, we need to show them that humans do too. But I can't do it alone. Lyra's eyes softened. She reached out and placed her small hand on his arm. You are not alone. The warmth of her touch reassured him. Nathan stood, determination filling his heart. Then we need a plan. For the next few hours, Nathan and Lyra sat together, discussing in simple words what they could do. Nathan would try to reach his human command center using the old communication station above the tunnels. Lyra would help by guiding him through areas where Thrillians often patrolled. If Nathan could convince his commanders that Lyra was not an enemy, but a messenger, he might be able to change everything. But they both knew it would not be easy. The next morning, Nathan packed what little supplies they had. Lyra watched him quietly, then stood beside him. Ready? Nathan smiled at her. Let's do this. They left the safe zone and moved carefully through the tunnels. Nathan led the way, but Lyra often paused, listening to sounds Nathan could not hear. Several times she tugged at his sleeve and guided him to take a different path. Only moments later, they would hear distant footsteps or metallic clanking, Thrillian patrols passing by. Lyra was not just smart. She was aware, deeply aware of her surroundings, in a way Nathan admired. Eventually, they reached a metal ladder leading upward. Nathan climbed first, slowly and silently. He pushed open the hatch slightly, peeking outside. The surface was quiet. Smoke still hung in the air, and the ground was scattered with debris, but no enemies were in sight. He helped Lyra climb out. The sky above them was tinted with orange and purple, the sun rising through the haze. For a brief moment, everything looked peaceful. Nathan pointed in the distance. There, he whispered, a small tower stood among broken buildings, the old communication station. They moved quickly, but carefully, keeping low behind fallen walls and shattered vehicles. Nathan's senses were alert, but Lyra's presence beside him gave him strength. They finally reached the station and entered through a side door. Inside, dust covered the controls. Some panels were broken, but the main system seemed intact. Nathan quickly activated the console. Static crackled through the speakers. He adjusted frequencies, his fingers moving with practiced speed. Then dash beep, a connection. This is Captain Nathan Cole, he said firmly into the microphone. If anyone from command can hear me, respond. For a moment, only static answered. Then, a familiar voice came through. Nathan, this is Major Harris? We thought you were gone, Nathan exhaled, relief washing over him. I'm alive, and I have someone with me. Someone important. Lyra stepped beside him, looking curiously at the device. Nathan continued, his voice steady but firm. Major, listen carefully. I found a Thrillian child. Her name is Lyra. She speaks our language. She wants peace. Not all Thrillians are our enemies. Silence. The radio crackled softly. Nathan's heart pounded. What if they didn't believe him? What if they sent soldiers to take Lyra away? Finally, Major Harris spoke. Nathan, are you sure? Yes, Nathan replied sharply. She saved me as much as I saved her. She's not a threat. She's hope. There was another pause. Then Major Harris said, Stay where you are. I'm sending a retrieval team. But Nathan, keep her safe. If what you say is true, this changes everything. Nathan felt a rush of relief. He turned to Lyra and smiled. They're coming. Lyra did not smile back. Instead, her expression became serious. She moved toward the window and stared outside. Nathan frowned. What is it? Lyra pointed wordlessly. Nathan rushed to the window, his breath caught. A group of Thrillians were approaching the station. They were heavily armored, moving with purpose. They had found them. Nathan's mind raced. He looked at Lyra. She did not appear afraid. Instead, she stepped forward toward the doorway as if ready to confront them. Wait, Nathan said, grabbing her shoulder. We don't know if they're friendly. Lyra looked at him calmly. They know me? Before Nathan could stop her, she walked outside. The Thrillians paused. Their weapons were raised, but they did not fire. One of them stepped forward. He was taller than the others, his armor more refined. His eyes widened when he saw Lyra. He spoke in the Thrillian language, his voice deep and surprised. Lyra responded fluently. The conversation was fast and intense. Nathan stood at the doorway, ready to protect her if things turned dangerous. Then, something unexpected happened. The Thrillian leader lowered his weapon. The others followed. Lyra turned and looked at Nathan. She motioned for him to come forward. Nathan walked slowly toward them. The Thrillians watched him cautiously, but did not attack. Lyra stood between them like a bridge connecting to worlds. The leader spoke again. Lyra translated. He says, You showed kindness when others would not. He says, You've protected one of ours? For that, they will not fight you. Nathan took a deep breath. Tell him I don't want to fight any of them. Not anymore, Lyra translated. The Thrillians exchanged glances. Nathan could see uncertainty in their eyes. Warriors who had been trained for battle were now being asked to consider something else peace. Then, the distant sound of engines filled the air. Human transport crafts approached, flying low over the battlefield. They landed nearby, and human soldiers stepped out. Weapons raised but not firing. Major Harris himself walked forward, armor worn but posture strong. He looked at Nathan, then at Lyra, then at the Thrillians. The air was thick with tension. One wrong move, and everything could fall apart. Nathan stepped forward, raising his voice. Everyone, listen. This war has gone on long enough. We've seen destruction, loss, fear. But today, something different happened. A human saved a Thrillian child, and that child saved him back. If we can show mercy, if we can show courage beyond fighting, then maybe we can find peace. The soldiers, both human and Thrillian, stood silently. Some lowered their weapons. Some watched with doubt. But none attacked. Lyra stepped beside Nathan and spoke clearly, her voice ringing through the air. No more fighting. Not today. Her voice was calm, yet powerful. Even those who could not understand her words could feel her meaning. Slowly, incredibly, the tension began to fade. Human soldiers relaxed their stances. Thrillians stepped back slightly, lowering their weapons fully. Major Harris walked forward, stopping just in front of Nathan and Lyra. He looked at Lyra. Then he looked at Nathan. You did well, he said softly. Both of you. Nathan felt a weight lift from his shoulders, for the first time in a long time. The battlefield was quiet, not because of defeat, but because of understanding. Hours later, Nathan sat beside Lyra on a hill overlooking the now-still battlefield. The sun was setting, painting the sky in soft gold and purple. The smoke had cleared, and the air felt lighter. Lyra leaned against him gently, her small form warm and calm. Nathan looked at her with gratitude. He had fought many battles. He had seen many losses. He had carried pain that few could understand. But today, he had seen something greater. Hope he finally rested not, because the war had ended entirely, but because he knew the future could be different. He closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them again, he saw Lyra looking at him with a gentle smile. What met his eyes when she awoke left him speechless. Not fear, not pain, but trust. And that was more powerful than any weapon.